Focus on God. Of course, things that try to trip you up are going to come into your life, but you have to trust what God has promised to you. If it's not exceedingly and abundantly beyond what you could have thought or asked for, then 9 times out of 10, it's not from God. If it looks close to the real deal, but it's just not quite, it's just missing something, you just don't feel 100% comfortable, it's probably not from God. When you make up your mind to focus on God and to focus on yourself, or to focus on whatever it is in the season of your life, whether you say, okay, I'm gonna focus on eating healthy, and then you start getting calls for, let's have a lunch date, oh, we're having a potluck. You have to be so locked into what you desire that you literally shut off everything, even though you might be starving in the very area that you are receiving an invitation to go eat at. Because sometimes the enemy shows up in the form of your greatest desire. He shows up in the very area that you feel like you are lacking most in. I'm telling y'all, I am in Dallas. I'm 3 months in. Of course I'm touch deprived. Of course I feel lonely sometimes. Of course I could use a little But man does not live by bread alone. So when the enemy is testing you, when you are going through your fasting season, connecting to God, saying, hey, God, I'm going to focus on me. I'm going to focus on myself. Of course, the enemy is going to present to you an opportunity that is not what God is calling you to have or partake in. Just like when the enemy tested Jesus in the wilderness, he said, I know you hungry. You've been fasting 40 days and 40 nights. Turn this piece of stone into a piece of bread. Jesus had to tell him, man doesn't live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded from the mouth of God. That's how I have to communicate with the enemy. When he sent my exact type to my front door, I had to say, man doesn't live by bread alone. When somebody is inviting you to a potluck or out to eat, when you know you trying to fast, man does not live by bread alone. Because he will send you the distraction in the form of your heart's desire, and it will look like what you want, but it will never be what you actually want. So for one of the first times in my life, I was able to say no to the stumbling block of a new man coming into my life. Ooh, I'm lonely right now. I could use touch. I could use a friend. I could use conversation. I could use masculine energy, but I could also use a little more God. I could also use a little more time in my Bible. I could also use a little more time alone. I could also eat off the word. I could also get the intimacy that I'm missing from God himself. Especially because I know that if I participate in the things that man could have brought into my life, it would have just led to me falling into sin. The same distraction, the same thing that made me stumble so many times before. At some point, you have to recognize the pattern in your life. So when I say, oh my God, this guy showed up as my exact type, it was the spirit. And the only thing that kept me from falling into the trap that the enemy set is understanding that when God sends it, he's going to send it in the form and the fashion of his will. It's not going to include someone who is going to appeal to my appetite, to my attraction. See, what we've confused sometimes is we look at a person, we say, I'm really attracted to them. It seems like I've known them forever and I just met them. Yes, because that's a familiar spirit. You recognize that spirit at which they come from. You've been dating that same spirit your entire life. So here you are thinking, ooh, we have a connection. Ooh, I'm really attracted to him. They are the attraction and the connection that you have to your history when God is trying to deliver you to your future. So I'm here to tell you that when temptation comes knocking on your door like it did on my front door, in the form of everything that you are lacking right now, I need you to say no to it. That's how serious you got to be about your answered prayers. That's actual faith, saying no to everything in your path that is not the thing that you prayed for. That's faith.